Hi there guys, this is Barry from Copper vs Glass. Last video I had a look at the new hardware on my Galaxy Nexus. Now let's have a look at stock Jelly Bean for this device and let's see what it's got to offer. Let's take a look. So here we are with the Galaxy Nexus running the latest version of Android 4.1, which is codenamed Jelly Bean. So as we can see here, first of all, the interface has been changed from ice cream sandwich to make it more slightly general consumer approachable. And by that I mean that it's a lot more colourful, it looks a lot more playful, and they've got rid of a lot of the ice cream sandwich traits such as the blue lines everywhere and the sort of Tron style colouring of the operating system. It looks a lot more approachable now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the main bullet points which Google are saying are the main points about Jelly Bean and why it's better than ice cream sandwich. The first one, of course, is called Project Butter. Now this is something which they're calling Project Butter because it's supposed to make everything nice and smooth. And the way it does it is it appropriately throttles up or down the CPU depending on what you're doing, and it's supposed to make transitions a lot more smoother. Now I have noticed compared to my Galaxy S2 that everything is a lot smoother between moving from home screens, pulling down the notification bar, and even doing things like opening the app drawer and switching between pages. It's very quick. As you can see the transitions here, there's like no lag whatsoever. So Project Butter I think is going to be very beneficial for a lot of devices, not just the Galaxy Nexus, when they of course get Jelly Bean. So the next feature that we're going to have a look at will be the notifications. Now notifications have been greatly changed in Jelly Bean, and now essentially we've got this. Now as we can see on here, we've got my next appointment, my next calendar date, we've got something that I downloaded, and we can even have things like text messages and screenshots set up here. Now the cool thing is that these notifications, some of them are actually expandable. If we use 2 fingers, we can make the notification bigger or smaller. The one at the top will automatically go expanded, but the ones below will not, and you can manually expand them if you want to. Now of course we can swipe them away as we want to, and we can press this button up here just to get rid of them all, and then they're all gone. So notifications I think are going to be really helpful, and they're actually quite actionable. You can take action on notifications directly, which is pretty cool. Next, what we're going to look at is the home screen organization. Now home screen organization is something which can be quite tedious on Android because there are things like widgets and icons and loads of different things. They can get quite difficult to organize, but they've changed that in Jelly Bean, and by that I mean that they made it so that if you put a widget, let's say this one, onto a screen with icons already on it, it will automatically move the content around, which in my opinion is super handy. Let's go ahead and put this back on the corner here. Boom, there we go. So this is also going to help with things like icon organization, so I can move this one here and I can push this icon along. I can even move the clock, there we go. So very handy if you've got very busy home screens. The next feature is to do with the camera. So essentially what they've done is they've allowed you now to use the camera, and it's very easy to see your last shot just by doing one simple action. So what we'll do, we'll go ahead here and we'll just take a photo. And you can see the action there as the photo moves off to the right hand side, and that gives you kind of a hint of what you actually do to get back to it. Essentially we can just swipe on our preview and see our last photo. We can even swipe through the rest of our photos if I had any. Of course from here you can zoom and pinch around. You can even do things like share the photo or delete it. The cool thing is though, is if you swipe back, you've got a live preview here while you're seeing your last photo, and this is quite cool. This goes to show Project Butter and what it can do in making everything nice and smooth. And we're back on the camera interface, so that's a pretty neat feature right there. So let's go back to the home screen, and the last one is probably the biggest one, and I think will be very beneficial to a lot of people as it gets smarter, and that's Google Now. Now you'll notice that Google Now appears in 2 different places. We've got it on the lock screen. If we hold down the lock, with a Google icon at the top which we can go to, or on the home screen we just hold the home button and we go up to Google Now. Now, what is Google Now? Essentially, Google Now is a service that learns your habits and what you do on your phone, I guess in a way tracking what you do, but I don't think I'm worried about security too much about this. But essentially it can give you information that you might want to know without even asking for it. So by default you'll get things like weather here, which is very, very nicely visually illustrated. I think the visual style that Google's going for here is absolutely gorgeous. If this is setting a trend for Google's visual design on their phones, I think carry on, it is gorgeous. Now let's go ahead and show some more cards here as an example. And here we are. Okay, so we can do things like weather as a sample. We've got traffic, and it will tell you, transport, and it will tell you how far it is to go back home to somewhere. Public transport, flights. We've got sports scores. We've got next appointment. Sorry if that's a bit blurred out. We've got translations, which is very cool. Currency, time back home, and even places, which is, again, the cards you get are very, very nice on there. So given that you've got all these cards turned on and Google's allowed to learn your preferences, you'll start to see your Google Now home screen fill up with all of the information Google thinks you might need. At the moment I've just got the weather. And the last cool thing is the voice dictation. So let's go ahead and give this a try. Who is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom?
The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom is David Cameron.
What is the diameter of the Earth?
The diameter of the Earth is 12,756.2 kilometers.
23 times 59.
The answer is 1357.
So you can see here that the voice recognition is really, really good. Even in my English accent, it does recognise the US and a few other languages as well, and they're expanding it soon. Now, the great thing about this is that, as you can see, if Google knows the answer and it can present it to me in this way, it will produce a nice card up the top here with the answer, and it will speak it if it can. If not, we can always swipe down to get just your usual Google search results down the bottom. So let's go ahead and see if we can get a picture card to come up. Show me images of the Eiffel Tower. And there we go. So this is pretty cool. I can see myself using this. I never thought I'd be using voice search on a phone too much, but considering how accurate this is and the visual aesthetics of when it displays the results to you are absolutely gorgeous, so I think it might be something which I'll use. Now the voice dictation does go even further on here because we can actually use voice dictation offline. So if I go into my email now and compose a new message, I can go in here and let's give it a little test. Testing the voice dictation on my Galaxy Nexus whilst recording a video for YouTube. So you can see here it's quite accurate. It's made a little mistake there, testing the voice dictation on my Galaxy Nexus 1 recording a video for YouTube. In my testing it has been accurate 80-90% of the time, but it does make some mistakes and it doesn't cope too well with loud environments. I found if I try and do it on the street or on the bus, it's very, very loud background noise and it doesn't cope too well with that. Now again, I am using the network here, but this does work offline, which is very, very cool. So those are all really the main features that we have of the new Jelly Bean operating system 4.1 for Android running on the Galaxy Nexus. And in my opinion, it is the best version of Android yet, and it definitely makes me 100% certain that I'm not going to buy any other phones apart from stock Android phones from now on, because I do believe they offer the best Google experience rather than a Samsung Google experience, which is Google but with something else on top, and it can actually dilute the Google experience quite a bit. So my personal pledge to myself is to always buy stock Android devices from here on out, knowing that this Nexus is as good as it is, regardless of the lower end hardware, but I'm sure they're going to release a new phone sometime this year with best in class hardware with stock Android. So again, this is Jelly Bean for the Galaxy Nexus, and this is Barry from Copper vs Glass, and I'll catch you guys later.